My 36M wife, 34F, got pregnant by a sperm donor against my wishes. Do I raise the child? My wife and I have been married for 8 years. We dated for a few years before getting married. We were in school for the first few years of our marriage. After finishing school, we tried to have kids. But it didn't work. My sperm was tested and my motility and morphology were on the low end. We tried IUI 3 times and then we tried a round of IVF, which didn't work. She was upset and worried about running out of time to have a child. My wife told me she wanted to use a donor. I said I was opposed to it. She went ahead with it anyway, and on the second try it worked. Now I feel conflicted. I don't want to raise a kid that isn't mine. I wanted to keep trying to have a kid together. Should I stay with her and raise the child? Is it fair for me to ask her to get an abortion and continue to try to have kids with me? If she went through all the trouble to get pregnant through a donor, I highly doubt she will agree to get abortion. If you ask her to choose between staying in a relationship with you or keeping the baby, she will probably just keep the baby. It seems like she already made her choice, and I'm sure it has crossed her mind that you would divorce her if she did this. So really it's up to you if you want to stay or not. She isn't going to abort. Come on, dude. Do you really think she's going to get an abortion after she's gone through all this work to get pregnant? Face with rolling eyes. You have the right to divorce her. She has the right to keep the baby. Not 100% on this, but you should check the law in your state. I heard if you are married, you are automatically the father in some states, even if you don't sign the certificate and know the baby isn't yours. Affair. I think she's already made her choice, and it's just a question of whether you want to accept her choice. I mean, she's basically already put her cards on the table to say that she values being a mother more than being your wife. Up to you, bro. I am the child. In this scenario, I'm an adult now, but I can tell you about my upbringing. Decades ago, my parents had the same fertility issues as you and your wife. These were the days before DNA tests. My mother did not have IUI without my father's knowledge. However, in those days, the doctors told the husbands that they would find a donor who looked similar. The parents did not see him or meet him, and they would mix the donor's sperm and husband's sperm, and that would make the husband's sperm more motile. And then the baby might be the husband's child, or it might be the donor's child. Whether or not the doctors actually mixed the sperm, who knows? Scientifically, it does not make the competitor's sperm more motile. I'm sure the doctors knew that the child would be the donor's, but they thought fiction would help the husbands bond with the child. I never knew these details. I was always told that both of my parents were my bio parents. I just knew that my parents had fertility issues and went to a clinic to have IUI for 40+ years of my life. A few years ago, accidentally, thanks to a DNA test that I took because I have mysterious health issues, I discovered that my father and I do not share DNA. And then, I look back on my life and everything made sense. I think my father believed that I was his biological child until I was in 9th grade and took a biology class and we learned about genes. We had to ask our parents about various recessive genes, and then it was probably apparent to my father that he was not my biological father. He was never a kind man or a good father, but then he turned awful. He was jealous of my high IQ, that I obviously didn't inherit from him, and resented my achievements. He and my mother dismissed my health issues and told me they were all in my head and I was overdramatic. I believed them and couldn't understand why I had such a hard time breathing in athletics when other kids did not. The bottom line is I was a gift that my parents, both my parents, planned and wanted. But my father resented me and everything about me. I tried to be close to him and he pushed me away. When my mother would protect me or try to do good things to celebrate my achievements, he was jealous and mean. He tried to sabotage my academics and prevent me from succeeding in life. He was never supportive. I can imagine a lot of his jealousy and resentment caused issues in their marriage as well. I don't think they ever had a good marriage, but I imagine this didn't help. Even though they were married, my mother was my main parent. She was the only one who picked me up and dropped me off at school and activities. If you aren't over the moon excited about this child, please, don't lead the child to believe that she is yours. Please, don't let this child grow up wondering why you don't love them. Please, don't let the child feel broken for no reason known to them. Please, don't make this child spin their wheels for decades trying to earn your love if you can't give it to them. Even if you divorce, your wife might tell the child that you are their bio father and you abandoned them. That's a cruel thing to do to a child. The child will always resent you. Please, make sure this child knows you don't hate them but that you are not around because they are not your DNA child. If you think a woman willing to pay thousands of dollars for IVF and wants a child so badly she's willing to go outside of her husband's wishes and use a donor, would be willing to get an abortion just because you ask her to, you're insane. My guess is she would divorce you much sooner than she'd have an abortion. She paid thousands and put her body through hell for this child. It's your decision whether to stay or go, but not in asking her to have an abortion. You should likely ask for a divorce, because you can already tell you're going to resent both this baby and your wife. If the child physically having your DNA is that important to you to where you can't love the child, then do them both a favor and leave. Should I stay with her and raise the child? Is it fair for me to ask her to get an abortion and continue to try to have kids with me? She was upset and worried about running out of time to have a child. I mean, you can try, if that's what you want. You had time to get her pregnant though. Honestly, I am pretty sure she won't abort it and try to get pregnant with you. Her time is running out like she said. She did this as her last option. Whether you stay with her and the child or not, she's going to raise it. Just file for divorce. She isn't going to get an abortion after all the trouble she went through. I'm curious how she managed that. My husband and I have fertility issues and we've looked at donors. No clinic will even consider the procedure without the express consent of both parties. It's possible it's a lot more strict here than where you are, but I'd still be concerned that a clinic would allow that. She wants a kid. You can't give her a kid. If you have a problem raising a baby that isn't biologically yours, then leave. Make your choice before she has the baby. Do not sign a birth certificate, otherwise you're on the hook for child support. Pretty sure she made the choice that her having a kid goes above your relationship. You now need to decide what you want. I don't agree with the sentiment of only a bio child being a real child, but you were left out completely. You couldn't even choose a donor with her. But you have to realize that an abortion is not in the cards. I don't know much about your finances and if continued tries would have been feasible, and if you were open to any other options, or even if the doctors said you have a chance or you are not able to make a baby no matter what. But that's all not the crux of the matter here. She chose a child against your wishes. Whether your wishes were reasonable or not is not the point. The point is you didn't choose this. You now have to choose. I won't tell you what you should do, but ask yourself if you could love the child. If you can deal with her outright putting her wish for a child above your wishes. If you can't, or even if you aren't sure, leave. If you can, stay. If you stay, do seek individual counseling. Her too. And marriage counseling for the sake of the baby. If you leave, consult a lawyer, cause I have no idea how the law works in this case. I don't want to raise a kid that isn't mine. Then get divorced, because a child deserves more than a man in the father role who only stayed because he didn't want to leave his partner. Is it fair for me to ask her to get an abortion and continue to try to have kids with me? Considering her actions thus far, this will 100% break up your relationship whether or not she gets the abortion. And if she gets the abortion, she will 100% resent you, and you will turn into the villain for her and probably her loved ones. It will be an ugly, extremely hurtful end to the relationship for everyone involved. I am incredibly sorry that she decided pregnancy was more important to her than your relationship. And she made this decision without your consent. That does suck. And she should have communicated better about how she considers your place in her life. No, he should do whatever he wants. Don't want the baby? Then leave. Don't stick around and resent the baby. Her decision has been made. So make yours and act. The child is not at fault. Do either accept or leave. How do you expect to have kids with her if IVF didn't work? Your marriage is over. The big question is whether she'll get child support. By donor, do you mean artificial insemination at a fertility clinic or backseat of a Honda Accord donor? Stay or leave. She's not going to get an abortion. If you can't forgive her and love the child, leave. So sorry. Horrible and ugly situation. That would be up to you, but you're against the whole idea. Not sure you'll change your mind once the baby is born. Your wife went against your wishes on such a huge decision that affects both of you. Can you forgive her for going to a sperm donor? You two need to have a long talk about this whole situation. Maybe even counseling if this relationship is going to work. Only you can decide that. For me, doing that without my agreement would be a deal breaker. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.